All right, how you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Keeping It Local. I am here with a true local legend, legend because he grew up across the street from me back in the old Cliffwood Place days. Spent a lot of time together in our younger years, and he has grown to be one of the a professional athlete out of Kings Park, which there aren't that many, right? I could say that, right?
I
You're an
guess you
actual
can.
pro. Professional athlete from a fantastic family. Again, had the pleasure of growing up across the street from him. And Joe, I think I was, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I was there the first time you ever played golf.
There's a very solid chance that because I do know it happened out of that house.
Yes.
In fact, as memory serves, my first real good shot was actually inside that house. It went through the front window and towards your yard. So I'm not sure if it actually got to your yard, but that was one of my fondest memories of
I
it.
think I actually remember. I think I remember the incident for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that was gosh, that was years ago. Yeah.
Well, hey, that's the genesis of it all. And I really didn't even finish my intro with you, but this is Joe Ingoglia from Kings Park, Ingoglia Golf. He's a golf pro. He's a golf coach. He is blowing up. He's doing amazing things out of his house, working from home, but in a way you've probably never seen before. So, Joe, truly appreciate you coming on. What's up, buddy?
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes.
Well, so yeah, so it really started back then. I mean, I'm trying to remember because I think like we went out to the par three. How old were you when you first started playing? You were like 11 or 12?
About 10 years old was when
Okay.
I really, Smithtown Landing was obviously a huge piece to it. My mother took my brothers and I to the pool many times with the Smith families and, many of the Kings Park families. And Timmy and Ryan Smith were obviously a big piece to that as well, fellow Kings Parkers. And it really started casually, just, going in our swim trunks to the range in
Mhm.
the middle of the day, and we would hit some shots, and I just caught the bug instantly, and obviously beyond humbly and appreciative and every other word I can use for Michael Hebron and his staff over the years at Smithtown. But that's something that I think Kings Park residents and Smithtown, really every town of Smithtown resident, needs to really appreciate, because it's opened up doors that are unfathomable for me and my career.
The par three was such a huge part of my childhood. And I
Yes.
tell people this all the time because you could back then, I don't know what it is now because obviously I don't play the par three anymore, though I probably should because I'm horrible. Um, but it was like $7 and you could play all day, just go around and around and around. So my dad would like drop us off there. Here you go. Here's $7. And it was like three more bucks for like, lunch. And we would play golf all day. The 36 holes, whatever it was. It was awesome. Like no better bang for your buck when you're a young kid, summertime, not much to do. It was phenomenal.
Now it's amazing when you think about it, what $20 can do in 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, $10 to play the par three, $10 for lunch, and literally would just go round and round and round. And you look at it in this day and age, in the iPhone, Instagram, world that we live in, these kids who still do that don't even think about that. They just go round and round and round. But Kings Park has offered so much to me, because whether it was roller hockey and deck hockey and ice hockey, and that translated into golf for me. And whatever sport I played, I had a passion for. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being active. But I say this to everybody. I mean, I gave a speech the other day down in Southern Cal. I was doing a Zoom call for them, and I told them, very unique that the area that we grew up with at had a town course that was on par with private golf clubs.
Mm.
Um, and they allowed junior, not only allowed junior golf, Hebron and his staff encouraged junior golf. And
Wow.
for me, I was 12 years old when Mike gave me a job picking golf balls on a driving range. And he's the only coach that I knew at that time. And I see him driving these beautiful cars and living a really good life. And I go, before I hit high school, I said, that's what I want to do. That's all I want to do. And, as a kid who wasn't a student, as a kid who had 9,000 levels of learning disabilities, for me, gaining the confidence at a young age and being around adults and then utilizing that later, in my early 20s, eventually working out in the Hamptons with the same confidence that I had at this municipal golf course. Here I am talking to people at a $1 million buy-in club with the same confidence.
Right.
Allowed me at a young age to do so much. But that not to get too much off topic, but that's what Kings Park has did for me. And I say this often, it's a town that, and we just look at it, people that we grew up with and see it, it's a town that creates personality. It
Certainly does.
It really is. And
Yeah.
that personality is used for many people's success. For mine, it's certainly, I mean, I grew up in a family, in a household of characters. I'm sure many of your viewers know some of them, but you had to have a personality in there. And so between growing up in such a great family and household, and then matching that with all the advantages that Smithtown, I don't think we have enough time to really lay out what Smithtown Landing did for me. But, from a young age, I kind of, looking back at it now, had a brand before I had a brand, right? Like, people knew me as, Frankie's little brother that played golf, right? That's kind of,
it's so true. It's so true.
Ultimately what it was. And that personality just kind of caught fire when I started traveling the world and trying to better my craft. And, that's it. But it all started at Smithtown for sure.
Which is so awesome. I mean, I'm going to throw one little caveat in there, because I remember when you first started playing and you were good right away. And that was something, like, I remember the first time going out with you, and I'm pretty sure Frankie was definitely there, your brother. And Frankie's like, watch this. And you got up and you teed off and you hit the ball straight and pretty far on the par 3, like almost to the green. I'm like, damn it. Like, he's good already. Look at this guy. And you just, the rest of the day, like, you were, for a kid who's never played before, you were good. So I feel like there was also like a natural ability there for you, which is awesome. But then there's another question I wanted to ask, because you brought up like special education, and obviously I'm also a special education teacher.
All right.
So I wanted to ask, is there, once you figured out that like golf was your thing and that's what you wanted to do, did that knowing that was your path, did that help you in school to perform better, or help you with your class? Like, did it have any correlation to like success in the classroom?
As a student?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I would tell you this though, and it's funny because I having 2 girls now, I reflect on this quite often. Is I was again, I like to say I'm one of the luckiest human beings alive, because the amount of, in anyone's life, it's all about kind of navigating around these landmines and hoping you get lucky along the way, right? And you get so many special people that help you along the way. And for me, I obviously I was, I had my IEP down, God knows how much was on that IEP. I was dyslexic, I had ADD, you name it. It just, I didn't.
Those are tough things though, like dyslexia, ADD, like 100%. Those are tough things to overcome.
They were very hard, but I'll tell you, one of the big, my father would be laughing if he was watching this. One of the biggest things that I think the attention deficit disorder has done is typically you're compulsive, right? You're obsessive and you're compulsive. And I am every bit of both of those. So there was never a plan B. There was always, hey, listen, this is what I'm going to be. And so to answer your question, the teachers at Kings Park were beyond special people for me. They knew I was never a troublemaker kid.
Right.
I just wasn't really, I didn't enjoy school very much.
Right.
But the programs that they offered and the specific teachers, like one that jumps out to mind is a woman by the name of Amy Apgar, who's now Amy Kiernan, right, who married, I forgot Mr. Kiernan's first name, but
Sal.
Sal.
I think it's Sal.
Right.
Yeah. I have it.
Yeah.
Been
No,
23 years,
right.
Sal. How you doing?
Yeah, right. So, Amy was fantastic. Deborah Green was fantastic. That whole special ed department this is going in the beginning of BOCES world,
Okay.
right? And I wasn't going to go to BOCES. That's not, and they knew that. They knew when that bell rang, I was going to Smithtown. It could have been
Right.
January. It could have been September. It didn't matter when it was. Now, the irony behind it to that question is you would find me in the golf shop sitting right next to Michael Hebron writing a book. Right. So I was there. He had, his famous book of The Inside Moves the Out. That was before me. But after that, I always watched how he did research, how he did his case studies, how he wrote books. And that always fascinated me. Yet I couldn't put anything on paper at school. So
Right.
obviously this what gave me great interest. Certainly that was my school. Smithtown Landing was my school. I
Right.
learned every skill that I use today. That really was the seed to what I have today. So to answer your question, did it help me as a golf instructor? Did it help me? No, because I would get very bored. I'd be in the back room and I'd be drawing circles, talking about swing plane and face angles and all these things in the back room. So again, I always knew what I wanted to do. My mother was super supportive. My father, who was a city fireman, always said, go get the safe job, and keep the consistency. And I always said, listen, I could do this. I know this isn't a real occupation back in 2004. Now it is, right? The world has changed, and we'll go over that. But at the front of my business now, I'm talking forces and torques and numbers and graphs, and it's really interesting if you think about what I do. I mean, you look in this room, we're measuring everything from what the player is doing in the feet to how their fingers and wrists are moving to what their eyes are doing to what their club face is doing. So it's really funny now. It's become like a science class.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're doing full data analysis of someone's swing. Like, oh, I've
hardcore.
seen the videos. It's insane.
Yeah, so it is very unique and very interesting. But again, like many people I've come across, it's just because you're either good or not good in the classroom doesn't mean there's no real direct correlation. There's many ways to be successful, and
Yeah.
for me, fortunately, my MBA, my master's was at Smithtown.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I mean, did your education, the people who how do you say his name? Sorry, Michael Hebron.
Yes, Hebron. Yes.
Hebron. Did those folks make you, is that what kind of transitioned you into coaching? Like, did those people make you want to be a coach and give back? Or was it just like the business side and being able to be around golf full time and do what you love, combination of the two? What was it?
No, I would say, contrary to what you were saying about my natural talent, there was maybe some natural talent in there, but like any sport, eventually you get around other people with great talent.
Mm-hmm.
And that really started, when I left high school and I went down to North Carolina to play college golf. I realized I was just another dude. And,
Okay. Oh.
and it was a very humbling experience. I remember my first tournament, it was a 2-round tournament. And I shot 2 under. I shot 1 under the first day, 1 under the second day.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Right. And I was tied for 86th.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So you think about that, that would have won a tournament in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
But down in the Carolinas, it was below average. Right.
So crazy.
It was crazy. So
Yeah.
what ended up happening was I didn't make the lineup my freshman year, which is normal.
Okay.
It's just like college football. If you get out there as a junior, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
You learn everything. You learn to play. But same thing in golf. Because again, the difference between an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old is significant in any sport you play.
Right.
Right. But to answer your question, I became a student of the game. I started coaching guys that I worked with, or excuse me, that I played with. and I started getting into data analysis, and I started getting into what TrackMan is, which is this radar device that measures everything.
Mm-hmm.
I found that I loved being around golf. I
Okay.
enjoyed playing golf. I didn't really love the competition behind golf. It
Gotcha.
was great as a high school kid on Long Island when I felt like I could win, you know, pretty often.
Crushing
Right,
everybody.
right. Like the confidence level is great,
Yeah.
but the grind that it required to be on top of your game for as long as you needed to be on top of your game, I found more enjoyment being next to that guy and helping him get to that point. And what I learned down at school was the psychology really held me back.
Okay.
And during that time, I took a drive up to UVA, and I met with their head of psychology there, and his name's Dr. Rotella, and
Uh-huh.
Dr. Rotella is he's the goat of the mental game in golf,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? And that opened up my world, and that was a big piece to my coaching to today, is saying, wow, listen, it's not just how well you can swing a golf club, there's so much more at that level. And so I kept going down that rabbit hole and down that rabbit hole and down that rabbit hole. And I would say a crossroad that I had was, I remember I got a GPA that's, I will never disclose what the actual GPA was, but
It got you out of there. That's all that
it was
matters.
really bad. And I remember my father grabbed me and he goes, listen, we're going to taking the ASVAB and going and taking the military exam. And he's like, you're not made for school. And, I'll bore you the details on there, but ultimately I jumped in a car. I told my parents, but I jumped in a car. I packed my stuff. I had $500 in my wallet, and I drove to Florida. And I said, I want to do this golf thing. College isn't going to get me there. I'd rather spend my time doing an apprenticeship somewhere
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. And, I was very fortunate. I landed in Orlando. I got my first job with David Ledbetter in Orlando, who is another world renowned coach. Again,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Hebron, who made that connection to get me set up. And again, I'm stacking golf balls and filling up trays of tees and just really
Grunt work.
and work, right?
Yeah.
But I sat on that tee for 12 hours a day, and I watched Ledbetter teach every tour player, every top collegiate player. Michelle Wee walked through there. Some really notable players I was
Wow.
able to watch, and that got me my start outside of Smithtown,
Okay.
right? And I eventually started. So to answer your question, though, the playing piece actually fizzled out a little bit
Yeah.
in my 18, 19, 20-year-old. I still played, but I knew what my calling was. I knew my
Okay.
calling was to really see how good I could get in the craft of coaching.
It's pretty amazing, though, that you figured that out actually at a much younger age than most people do. Like, you figured
Agreed.
that out at 20 years old, that your path and your craft was coaching, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you were dead set on it, and just train was going, and that was it. Get aboard or get out of the way.
Oh, 100%. No,
Yeah.
and again, that's to Mike in Smithtown, right? Because and again, I keeping consistent with your page. This is the town of Smithtown, local guys, anyone watching this, anyone looking to move into the area, what those grounds did for me and many other people. I mean, just think about you, John, alone. You grew up on Cliffwood, kid across the street from you, meeting me, when it was able to build a business for myself.
Mm-hmm.
To the right of you, in the Women family, have created a simulator business in
Yeah.
one road. In one road,
It's so insane.
right? That's one road, and
Yeah.
there are many of us who are out there who have made a career out of golf because of what's happened behind the gates at Smithtown Landing. So
Well,
again,
and you did, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I remember seeing this. You did a big fundraiser for Kings Park Golf, high school golf,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that. I was telling someone recently, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Joe Ingoglia like saved that program, because I know, or maybe you didn't say it, but I knew you did a lot to make sure that they had what they needed.
Yeah, I was heartbroken when I heard. So, and again, I'm sure we'll go backwards, but COVID helped me. Unlike some people, COVID was a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
It really was. I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, 9 months a year, teaching golf at a course in Great Neck called Fresh Meadow, which was an outstanding, super high-end club.
Okay.
It was a very high-end country club, the closest proximity to the Upper East and Upper West Side. So you had a lot of New York City as well as the Roslyn Great Neck area.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, we couldn't go to work. Right? They shut it down.
Right.
You could play golf, but my job was to be close to somebody and teach
Right.
them
Right.
golf.
Yep.
So that's when this whole thing, and I'm sure we'll jump into it, but that's when this whole thing started.
Okay.
During that time, I learned, for whatever reason, and Dr. Egan, this is on you, but you made it right. Is, for some reason, the JV team for Kings Park Golf got eliminated during COVID. And there was only 2 teams that got eliminated, the JV bowling team and the JV golf team. And
wow.
I was very offended by this, to say the least.
Yeah.
I won't get into the full level of how offended I was. It bothered me because, like I just alluded to, so much success came through the golf team.
Yeah.
The golf has become a career for people.
Yeah.
Including myself. So I got cut in the 7th grade for varsity golf. I'll never forget that. I still text Krupski on his birthday. The biggest mistake he made was cutting me in 7th grade. But that year they started a JV team.
Okay.
And I was going to play lacrosse instead, which I loved as well. But golf kept me in. Who knows what would have happened? And when I found out, right? Who knows? I may have just went lacrosse and just stayed there.
Yeah, that might have been it. You might have just played the cross and been a lax boy, and then
100%.
gone and been like a little an accountant right now. I shouldn't say little, but
Well,
like you're kind of big time now, so it's awesome.
Quite frankly, I could have been working with my hand. Who knows what I would have been doing? Right?
Could have been a city fireman like your dad.
100%. Right. Yep. But what I do know is they affected the golf program. When I left high school, we went back to back runner-up finishes in counties.
Wow. Okay.
Small little Kings Park, back to back. All 3 years we lost the Sachem when they were one high school. Right. Oh. So you think about that, it's like
4-to-1 kid ratio. Yeah.
Right. So realistically, if they were still a 2 school, if they were back to a 2 school, then who knows? Right. We probably would have had a few championships. When we left, they won back-to-back county championships.
Wow.
So in 5 years, they came either runner-up or winning of the county championship.
Yeah.
Now,
that's so crazy.
Right? That's the team they eliminate.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I was upset. But again, I'm 38 years old. That was a long time ago when I was there. But I made a lot of emails. I got in contact with Tom Edmondson, who's the varsity coach. Phenomenal guy. That really cares about the golf program. And so I called up Tom and said, dude, how is there no JV? We wish there was a JV. The funds were low, blah, 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 blah. We fundraised and got $28,000 in 2.5 weeks.
That's incredible.
$28,000.
Wow.
And in that $28,000, we got a JV team. We swagged out the JV and varsity with black camo golf bags, black camo shirt. Their whole outfits are black and camo. And I wanted, when I went there, it's really funny. When I saw them practicing it, they were at Sunken Meadow. This is where they ended up practicing. It was at Sunken Meadow. Okay. Now they're at Nessequag. Just to put that in perspective.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
So, right? I go there and it's literally Mighty Ducks, District 5. Like that's literally what it felt like. These kids, none of them ever played. This is a varsity too. None of them ever played. Wow. They're all hockey players that decided to come out and play golf because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
No one knew the rules of golf. No one knew anything. Wow. They were just trying to fill a team.
That's crazy.
Right. That was 2 years ago. This year they spent two guys to counties. One of those kids missed states by a shot.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That's in 2 years.
Yeah.
So the point is, we're very, very appreciative of all the donors. Fortunately, it took only one run to do it, but the amount of alumni that played there that came out was amazing. But that again speaks small town, huge town at the same time.
Yeah.
It
But
really,
also, look what you did for those kids. Like, look what you did for that state kid, the kid who missed states by one shot. He doesn't
yeah.
have that if you guys don't go out and do that. Like, if
No,
you don't go out
yeah,
and make that happen, that's it. Like, he's potentially got a college career, potentially got a scholarship, potentially has so many
yeah.
more options because you guys went and did this. So that right there alone is worth it to me, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I would say, for those watching that are golfers at whatever level, they'll appreciate this, but this goes into anybody, quite frankly. But the way you're taught in golf, and the way we used to be taught, should be taught still this way, is you leave the golf course better than you found it. That's rule number one. Before you even learn how to hold a golf club, you leave the golf course better than the way you found it. And that's a mindset that I try to take in everything. And
Mhm.
we've all made screw ups along the way, but that's the mindset. The mindset is to leave it better.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's one of the things about golf is, I still, the first thing I was taught, you remember my dad, the lunatic.
Yeah,
He knew about golf. He wasn't a very good golfer, and my grandfather too, they would always take me out, and
yeah,
it was etiquette first. Like, that was the first thing I was taught was etiquette. Like, do not walk in someone's line, and those things are like lost arts at this point in just present day generational speaking. Is the whole idea of like, you wait, you don't go
right.
until the last person goes, you don't walk in someone's line, you don't stand in someone's line of sight. Like, you have to be fully conscious of somebody else's needs while you're playing golf, because it's a respect thing. They may not affect them at all. Like, I know people who could swing just as well with talking or not talking. Like me, I'm going to swing just as bad as if you're talking or not talking. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
just to learn that respect is something I think that's lacking in a lot of ways. But I want to transition into your setup, because we could see it
yeah.
behind you, and I actually like you made this indoor setup during COVID so you could do private lessons. I think that's what we're getting from this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was I was unable to teach for it. Ended up only being a month, but we were very deep into building this. Um, so essentially what happened is obviously COVID affected everyone's lives.
Yeah.
Um, golf was COVID accelerated golf's already trajectory and took it into the hemisphere. I mean,
Mhm.
it's amazing how much golf just grew,
It was
right?
one of the only things you could do. Like, I remember
It
in the
was.
spring, I was like, oh, hey, I saw two of my buddies from work that I haven't seen, in months
Yeah,
because we weren't going to school. And I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, let's go golfing. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Yeah, we don't have to worry about anything. This is nice. We're outside. It was the perfect scenario.
yeah. So essentially, what makes me unique in the field of golf instruction is I measure every part of the body before I give a single golf lesson, right? So I want to know what your wingspan is. I want to know what your neck rotation is. I want to know, any physical elements that you may have had. I want to know how your ankles rotate, how your hips rotate. So I'm literally getting all these dimensions, and then we're creating a golf swing. So you obviously see a lot of TVs and everything behind me, but it's no different than going to the doctor. I mean, you're getting properly screened. We have this saying, why guess when you can measure,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're trying to measure every little part and using the technology and the science to build you a golf swing that your body is meant to move in. Like for me, I'm not going to move the way a kid with a 32 waist moves. Just
Yeah,
not
yeah, I
gonna do it,
suffer from
right?
that too.
Right. So I shouldn't be trying to swing the same way. So for me, I just needed a bay. I had all the tech already.
Okay.
So but anyway, it blew up. I mean, I had guys like I just finished a golf lesson before we jumped on here, and a guy took a train up from Philly and he went right back, took an Uber back to Deer Park, and he's heading back home. Like
You got
it's
people traveling from other states to golf with you.
we have people all over the world. I have, we get off the phone with you. I got some guys in California I got to jump on some Zoom calls with. So it's the world has changed now. Again, Long Island's an amazing place for me. I'm very fortunate that I teach from the Hamptons to Sands Point down to Hewlett, that all different parts of Long Island. And for me, I'm very fortunate that it grew as quick as it did when I went into my studio that I built here. And my wife was amazing when I told her 2-car garage is turning into a studio. And more recently, as you saw with the backyard, and we'll get you some pictures to show your viewers this, but
I have your face. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm going to bring up your Facebook if you don't mind.
No, please.
Just to show, because I was like, dude, this guy is on another level with working from home and building a business out of your own house. So like, this is, to me, like, this is top. It's beyond top notch. Like, this is something that nobody in golf is doing, I don't think. And certainly there's nobody on Long Island that's doing this. That is 100%. But to see what you've done back there is so incredible. Skip. Oh, happy birthday, Zoe. Oh,
yeah, there's the 4-year-old birthday party that we had.
Happy birthday. All right. So here's a picture. I'm just going to share my screen quick because I'm running out of time on this bad boy too. Share screen. Here we go. All right. So this is the craziest thing I have ever seen. So you have 2 PGA-sized green here. You have sand traps. Now, is that what's with the sand? Is it synthetic? Like how?
So this bunker right here that I don't know if anyone can see my mouse, but this bottom left, right there, that sand trap. If you can see that truck in the background, there's a tee box right behind it.
Okay.
So that's about 90 yards to this back. If I'm looking at the screen, back left pin right in front of that bunker.
Okay.
So that bunker is made solely for the illusion or the depth perception of the shot. On the right-hand side here, on the top, that's a real sand trap. And there's another one on the other green. So
okay,
we have 9 holes on this backyard, ranging from 90 yards to a 30-yard shot. And this picture has changed so much in the last few weeks here. But then the grass along the side is actually fairway grass now. And so you're going to be able to hit off real fairway tight lies on it. But now what makes this backyard unique is it's all radar based. So wherever you drop a ball from, it measures the shot itself, how much spin it had, how far the ball went, how high the ball went, how much did it roll out, all these different pieces we know. And then all that data gets uploaded into my studio here. So then after the session, we come back in here, we videotape some stuff, go over some film, and do the whole thing. So there's an inside and an outside component to what I built. And the reason this started is my college kids. Is their swings were getting really good, their stats were getting really good, but ultimately their scores weren't changing because we didn't address this part of the game. And so that's why we did it. But again, this goes back to how fortunate I am with the students that I have, that they've trusted me for as long as they have, to where I felt the responsibility to roll it right back in and better my craft, better the product, and better their experience.
Dude, you are the Doc Brown of golf coaches. Like,
that's fair. That's very
this is insane.
I like that.
From special education, dyslexia, ADD to absolute golf coach, mad scientist using every single ounce of data that he could gather to completely transform someone's game in and out of his own house. Right. Is absolutely insane. This is crazy. I'm going to come by there with some video camera stuff. We'll do a walkthrough and you could show me everything. Yeah. But before we, I know you got to go and I got to go, but before we go, give me like 1 30-second piece of advice that you would give to like any entrepreneur, small business owner, from your standpoint now as someone who's super successful and has taken this to the highest levels.
Yeah, I mean, I hopefully we get more successful as time goes. But I would say, first and foremost, blinders, trust your instinct. And that's the best thing I can tell you. I mean, people who play it safe typically don't get the most out of what they're looking to accomplish. I think that's a really big thing. There's a lot of negativity out there, a lot of people who, not intentionally want to hold you back, but even if their heart's in the right place, it will hold you back. And then, gosh, really surround yourself. I know it sounds cliche, but really surround yourself around super positive, not people who are just gonna, blow smoke, but really smart people. I've been very fortunate that I've surrounded myself around honest, smart people. And when I have trouble, they help me. And then the last piece is, one thing that we can all do better. Don't be scared to put yourself out there. It's not you bragging. It's not, a lot of people are scared to literally put a camera in front of them. John, you do this great. Jackie Clancy does this great. I mean, honestly, it takes a special person to say, you know what? I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm going to get my message out there. And the more your message does get out there, people listen, even if they don't respond for a year, 2 years. You don't know when that time is. But if your passion is why you're doing it, and that's what really motivates you, you can't fail. And I think, from a golf instruction standpoint, I always say failure is the best teacher, and that's kind of what I've stayed with.
Love it. Joe, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. You're killing it.
Thanks,
this was awesome. We're going to do it again. I definitely want to come by and check out the place, but thank you for all you do. Great work, and your message is, I think, going to be well received.
Thanks, John. Appreciate your time. Come on by, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. You can't. I don't know if you could fix me. I'll be your ultimate test.
No, we'll have the fire going and get some brewskis back there.
I like how you're going to create the swing around my body, though. That's like the best news of the day.
Yeah.